Hello. As everyone probably realises by now, the World Health Organization has declared a pandemic. Obviously, they've done that so that we, as a world, as a species, I guess, can start to do the things that we need to do collectively to try and stop the spread of our little friend COVID-19. So you might be wondering why I'm lying here, and before I tell you about that, if you're interested, to any of the LinkedIn police who like to look at videos and sort of have a go at people and say, hey, you haven't put subtitles on it, so I can't read it on the train or the bus or wherever, or in the office without listening to the sound. I mean this nicely, but too bad. Sometimes you just have to get out of the 100 million miles an hour shallow breathing response to everything and living life that way. And sometimes we need to get our shit together and think our way through. So this was my little contribution to that, I guess, from someone who's had the odd occasion where anxiety and all that sort of stuff has got the better of me. So for what it's worth, this is my take, particularly if you're somebody that is responsible for the safety of other human beings. I'm a dad of 3 girls, so their sort of safety and physical and mental well-being is really important to me. I've got a mum that's getting on in years, so I want to think about her safety and everything. But now is not the time to panic. I don't know that there's ever a good time to panic, but one of the things that every authority and everything will tell us at the moment is to keep calm and don't panic. And at the end, I'm just going to just throw something out there that's worked really well for me, and I've passed it on to a few people, including my youngest daughter, when big emotions get the better of her a little bit, and hopefully that might be useful to some people. And it's part of the reason why I'm lying down here like a lazy little man doing this video. So the sort of general instruction to the populace at such times is always to keep calm. Well, I've actually written it on a whiteboard over here. Now that'll look backwards to you guys, but don't worry too much about that. This is just kind of thinking that I use when I teach people self-defense. Because really what we're teaching people, when you're teaching people self-defense, at least when you're doing it properly, you're preparing people quite often for the worst day in their life, hoping it doesn't happen. And I've just got up there a couple of points. Write this, write that. The first one is right system. And unless there is something immediately imminent threatening your life, like a saber-toothed tiger or a knife-wielding terrorist or an out-of-control car or something like that, the sort of the stress response system is not the right system for us to use to respond. And when you look at all the media and everything at the moment, it seems like every single announcement knocks Wall Street and the ASX down by another 8% or 4% or whatever, and these things are concerning. Don't get me wrong, and we've declared a pandemic, and we're seeing all these things. So look, I'm not saying these things aren't important, and I'm not saying they're not threatening to us. They are, but we need to think our way through it. So the right system for us to, as humans, to be getting through this stuff is our human brain, not the little lizard brain, which is really helpful in some situations, but not in this one. Going on from the right system to use as humans is our human brain, especially as leaders, of people. The next one is right information. So every man and his dog. I'm not going to sit here and tell you what you should do in terms of controlling and preventing infection and spread of COVID-19 because I'm not a qualified expert. Luckily, we have organisations like the World Health Organisation. Here in Western Australia, we have the WA Health Department, and they're pretty good at this stuff, and they've planned for it. So really, those are your best sources of information. Social media, etc., is not. So how about this? How about picking one of those authorities? I know that acting on what authorities tell us is a bit out of fashion at the moment, but might be a good time for us to go back to that, because otherwise you're just going to get misinformation and fear-mongering, etc., etc. So once we're using the right system and we have the right information to act on, then we need to actually do the right things. We need to take right actions, don't we? And depending on your situation, you know, those might be, there's obvious things like the hygiene or hygienic instructions given by organisations like we just talked about. But right actions too, as a leader, as a dad, and you know, and any of those sort of roles, we've got to be calm and projecting calm and keeping our shit together, and letting other people seeing us have our shit together, particularly children. That's what really concerns me at the moment. To do that, we need to have the right attitude, don't we? The human race has been through a lot of challenges over the years, lots of plagues and illnesses and terrible wars and all sorts of challenges and natural disasters and stuff. But we're still here. We're a pretty bloody resilient and resourceful species. So I think when COVID-19 has peaked, the human race will still be here. Horrible truth is, lots of individuals might not be, and so let's reduce that. Let's do the shit we need to do to reduce that as much as possible. This is on my list of rights anyway. Gary's Bill of Rights, you could call it, or Board of Rights. And the last one I've got there is right now. The reason the WHO has declared a pandemic is to say we can actually slow and limit the spread of this thing. But we've got to take aggressive action right now. So I know it doesn't particularly look like I'm taking aggressive action, but we have been for quite some time already taking a lot of sort of preemptive actions, and we're trying to think our way through this as well. So look, to get to that point where we're using the right system and the human brain and not going straight into the stress response, this is a grounding technique that I'm a really big fan of, and it's part of the reason why I'm lying here like a lazy man on my mats with my head on shield, a kick shield. So it's called 5 to 1, and it's basically, especially when we're anxious about something, we're worried about something that might happen, but usually it's not something that's happening right in front of us right here, right now. I know it's a pandemic, I know that people are getting infected, but to get us back into that human brain system that we need to be in, we've got to take ourselves out of the stress response, because all of that right information and right actions, they won't happen if we're using the stress panic response. So it's called 5 to 1 because you basically do things like, and I've left some props around the place. So, and the other reason I'm doing this is I'm a big fan of sort of getting down, if you can sort of sit down, against a wall or something like that. Lying down's even better. Just try and control your breathing. Try and go in through the nose, into abdominal breathing as much as you can to relax a little bit. Look around you. So look for 5 things that you can see around you. You can even name them to yourself. Oh, look, there's some kick shields, there's some roof tiles, there's a fire extinguisher, There's a security alarm button. Oh, there's a handsome fellow. Then 4 things you can touch. So there's some keys and a kick shield and a writing pad and a wallet. 3 things you can hear. So I can hear the hum of the air conditioning in here. I can hear kids out in the car park outside because there's a dance school and a gym right near us. And I can hear the weights dropping because a lot of Olympic lifting happening in the excellent, by the way, gym next door to us. 2 things, my youngest daughter loves this bit. Next bit is 2 things you can smell, or your 2 favourite smells, because the olfactory sense is very, very powerful. She always talks about cake and cookies, so even though I'm supposed to be, an advocate of healthy eating, I'm going to go with that as well, because they're pretty nice smells. And the last one is 1 emotion that you're feeling. And believe it or not, I'm feeling quite happy at the moment. Can you tell? So that's it. That was just a little grounding technique, especially when anxiety is hitting you hard, and especially for those people who need to, kind of model calm for other people and use that right information and the right actions, have the right attitude, and do it right now, and lead people through this valley of terrible uncertainty and anxiety and fear that we're all living with at the moment. So I hope that may be of use to some people out there. We need to look after each other now more than ever. We need to be really mindful and considerate in our actions at the moment. And we need to not be selfish human beings, don't we? So let's look after each other. Let's make sure that we sort of look after each other in terms of making sure the right people have got the right suppliers in terms of food and what else, toilet paper, etc., etc. And we'll get through this thing together, mostly as a species. So let's do that. Look after yourselves.